Welcome back to the Acoustic Shop channel. I'm here today with my good buddy JP Cormier. We're going to be talking about Boucher Guitars, the JP Cormier model.
Yep.
I'm glad to have you here. This is going to be awesome.
Yep.
Get ready for lots of cool things, including specs, rundown, a tone sample. We're going to talk about how this guitar came about, so stick around. Welcome back, guys. Once again, if you have not yet done so, please do subscribe to the channel, hit that thumbs up. You know all that stuff you're supposed to do on the internet. Yeah. Are you aware of this?
Oh, yeah.
People want you to do, and again,
Yeah.
there's an entire video performance of that song available, and the link is down below in the comments, as well as ways to skip to the end so you can hear tone samples of JP playing this guitar so you know exactly what it sounds like. But you know what? Right now, I'm just glad to have you in here. This has been a blast having you in, filming stuff here these last couple days, and this guy's a monster, guys. It's pretty awesome to have you here.
It's a great honor. You guys are doing something really important here, and it's amazing when you think about it. In the YouTube world, this is not happening everywhere, and like I've told you the stories about. I remember seeing you guys when I was 16, playing with the Sullivan family and seeing the family band.
I was like 3 then,
and,
by the way.
playing in Hugo, Oklahoma, and McAllister, and different places. It was just sitting around with you just brings back all that memory, because I learned so much about picking back then. You know, there was so many great players, and you were some of them, man.
Well, I appreciate that.
You yourself was 3 of them.
I was the size of 3 of them.
Yeah.
That's what you were going for. But
well,
no, same for you. It is awesome to have amazing musicians, and I've loved getting to see all the aspects of what you do on the guitar. It's not just, what my one trick pony kind of style here, which is pretty cool. But we're going to talk about this Boucher. You have been working with Boucher for a very long time now.
I have.
This guitar has
12 years now.
This is like the one though that was like, if we're going to build me my guitar, this is what I want it to be, right?
Yeah.
So tell us how that all came about.
Well, when I first met Robin, to make a long story short, I was at a festival and I had a guitar fail entirely. I was playing a festival where the rain would go sideways at night. It was so driving so hard, and my guitar swelled up and was unplayable. It was a brand new instrument too. I won't mention the company. And so it was unplayable. I put it in the car. So there was a guy there that had a little Bubinga OM from this company called Boucher, and I'd never heard of it. And he said, play these, man. And I played a couple of them. I just thought, okay, great. There was a dreadnought or 2, right? Okay, fine, yeah, so we can build a Martin, big deal. And I put it in the case and walked away. And the next day I was doing a guitar workshop, and I had no guitar. And I was literally sitting on stage with my amp and no guitar. And here comes this guy rushing up with this tweed case. Here, play this. And he pulled out this Bubinga OM, and I plugged it in, and it just changed my world, that guitar. So he wanted it back, and I wouldn't give it back. I said, call the guy and tell him I'm buying it right now. You can't have it back. So bought it. 2 weeks later, Robin was coming to do an exhibition at one of our larger bluegrass festivals in Nova Scotia down in Truro. So I went there specifically to meet him, and there was this beautiful rosewood dreadnought sunburst, just beautiful guitar. I jammed on that for the whole afternoon, and at the end of the jam, I walked over and I said, how much do you want for this guitar? And he said, he's very French.
Oh, yes, he is.
Oh, he said, oh, you can't have that one. I said, why not? He said, well, I dropped the tool on the top and put a dent. I said, oh, you can't have that one. I made a boo-boo. And I said, that's why I want it. So I took the guitar and I called her boo-boo. So anyhow, time went on, and I kept running into more and more of the models that he made. And he made this triple lock guitar, 12 fret body, and I played it at an exhibition in Montreal, and I fell in love with it. And I fell in love with it so hard that I took songs out of my show because I didn't have the space to play them. So I altered my shows just so I could play that guitar. So a couple more years go by, and he said, "I'm going to build your guitar." And I said, "Well, what will it be?" He said, "You'll see." And so it started to leak out, that it was going to be based on Yogi, the little triple O, but with a cutaway, rosewood, torrefied Adirondack, the slotted headstock, all these things. And I was so excited. And I remember going to pick it up. Months later, I went to one of his gigs. Robin is a tremendous guitar player.
Mm-hmm.
And he plays in a 10-piece Beatles band. And it's like seeing the Beatles. They can do the whole White album, note for note, like just insane. So I go up in this place, and it's like a band room up there. And he's got a case. And he said, "There it is." And I opened the case, and I just saw this guitar. And mine has a very fancy pickguard, which you get with the guitar. It stays in the case.
By the way, we have that one. It's in the case right now.
It's optional, and it's beautiful. And he looked at me. He said, "GP," said, "this is the best guitar I've ever built." And I picked it up, and I played a chord on it, and we both started to cry. I just sat there and I was playing. The tears were falling on the guitar. And I was looking at him, and they were running down his face. And he said, "You like it?" I said, "I like it," and it's still, in my opinion, of every guitar that I own, it's the greatest guitar I own. There's something about it that is unlike anything else.
I agree with that.
And the scary part about these things is how consistent they are. I've probably paid. The cool thing is that this model went on to be the best-selling guitar they ever built. They've sold. We're climbing very close now. I think one more guitar, and we sold 100 of these, which is
that's significant for a small boutique builder.
Exactly, because he only builds about 450 a year. So, and they're just the most consistent guitar. I've played 20 or 5 of these things at least, and they're all identical. I haven't seen one yet that was like, "Well, that's not like mine." They're all like mine. I don't know how he does that.
Well, he's definitely mastered his craft, and that's the big trick on this. Is Boucher is really coming into it. So let's run down the specs of this guitar. It is a torrefied Adirondack spruce top. It is rosewood sides and back. It is a forward shifted X brace, which is really obviously great. Here's where it gets a little bit interesting. It is a 12 fret to body. But it has a 25.5-inch scale length.
Big
That's
sound.
where it makes it big. It's very punchy. It feels really good under a flat pick, as well as being finger pick. It's just more responsive, I find, for that. 1 3/4 nut width. It is Indian rosewood sides and back with koa binding, and a lot of herringbone koa going on here, which looks really great. Has the abalone purfling around the sound hole.
Koa back strip.
Koa back strip. Just really nice. Does come with the Goto tuners, as well as the Tweed TKL case. A lot of guitar going on here, and unique for that small of a body to have that much punch, that much liveliness, and like I said, that long scale length I think has a lot to do with that.
Absolutely.
Which is really, really cool.
It's not afraid of anything. You can flat pick, like mad on this thing, hard, play hard rhythm, flat pick, but then it has all this incredible dynamic for fingerstyle with tons of bass and tons of clarity. That's what Robin's guitars have the most of, I think, of all, is clarity. Every note lives all by itself. It's really something.
So you carry a lot of different guitars. What on your stage show? What is your common right now as far as the amount of guitars you carry on stage? Is it for different body sizes? Is it what you're for live?
I actually carry only one guitar.
Only one?
Yep.
So you want a guitar that will perform all the way around?
Yes. And
Okay.
I've got 45 or 50 of them, and they all do the job. And there's ones I switch out from time to time. There's a core group of guitars that I'll never sell, and they just inspire me differently. Literally, it can be, I'll have a Boucher one night, and that makes me do something I've never done before live, and then the next night I might be playing one of my Yaris or one of my Epiphone IBGs or my D41 Martin, and each guitar, when I approach the mic on the stage, feel like I have a different menu to pick from while I'm working, right? So it's very healthy. It keeps your brain going and keeps you inspired. It is very inspiring to have a great instrument in your hand every night, and I'm blessed with a ton of them.
Yes, you are.
Those-
There's some
yeah.
great stuff, and it's really cool to have something that kind of again fits what you're wanting it to be. It's pretty cool to be able to work with somebody like Robin and kind of really create something that you feel like it covers all of your bases, because that's always a tough thing.
Absolutely.
Especially for someone like you that has such a broad range of what you're capable of doing. Me and you obviously blend really heavily into the flat pick stuff because that's a world you've done. Now, then I watch you go into the some of the finger picking stuff and styles, and even some of the more Atlantic fiddle tunes and all that kind of stuff. And that's a world that I appreciate, but definitely don't have near as much of a world as what you do. And it's pretty awesome to find guitars that can cover all that, because obviously dreadnoughts are not going to do the job for everything.
No, but I have some dreadnoughts that do. Most of them are Bouchers. My Martin does. That 41 is a very versatile guitar. It's got you know what they sound like.
Yep,
But
absolutely.
But it's very forgiving. So I can get away with doing stuff on that 41 that I wouldn't be able to get away with perhaps on a Boucher dreadnought. Because if I used my, my torrefied maple, the new ones that are coming out,
Those are great.
that thing, it'll do everything, but you got to hold it back like a team of horses, right? Like, it's just that kind of guitar. It's so powerful that you got to be careful how you address it, or it'll overtones will kill you, like,
Sure.
and just things like that. So, but that in itself is inspiring. It's like, okay, I got a whole other palette to choose from here, right? So, yeah.
Do you find, just out of curiosity, do you find that when you're grabbing each of those different guitars, because like you said, you have different ones, they have a slight different feel to them, does it inspire your playing slightly different? I mean, you're picking the same sort of set lists on these shows, right? But I know for myself, I play differently depending on which guitar I'm playing.
Absolutely.
Is that how you feel?
Absolutely. That's one of the reasons I have so many guitars. Because I get bored easily. I'm not going to lie to you. I have a deficit in attention, right? But I also just love guitars. And not to get maudlin or anything, but when I was a young boy, we had nothing. We were on welfare. We were living on nothing. And I couldn't afford a guitar. I was playing the worst instruments that you've ever seen. Like, I started playing when I was 5, and I literally had a guitar that the strings were that far off the tailpiece, off the fingerboard tail, right? Just horrible, horrible instruments, and painful. Learned to play, and I would be 7, 8 years old and playing and practicing so much that my fingers would split and the blood run down the back of my hands. And my mother would come in and yell at me, "Stop playing that GD guitar," just lose her mind, like. So when I, even up until I was like 25, 26 years old, still had no money, because there's no money in this business when you're starting out,
Sure.
And as time went on, and I was able to afford to have instruments, and then got a collection over years of a dozen instruments or so. It just made me feel good. They're like a little family for me, right? Mom and Dad are both gone, and there's 5 boys, but we're losing them gradually. I'm the baby, and so it's important to me to have all those beautiful different menus to choose from. And it's like, I go into my studio and they're all lined up against the wall there, and they're all labeled, and I know what's in each case. And if I'm going to write a song about X, I'll go, this is a job for the Yamaha L36, and I pull that out, and I know how that's going to inspire me, because I'm very. People go, how do you justify having that many guitars? You can't play them all, Actually, you can, but you just got to play them one at a time. But the thing is, I have an intimate relationship with each one of them. I know exactly what they sound like, how they react to environmental pressures, how they react plugged in, how they react in front of a good mic and a bad mic, and whether they're good for playing in a room with nothing. And that's important. It teaches you a lot about the instrument. Therefore, you're learning more about playing just by the simple act of experiencing as many different guitars as you possibly can in your lifetime. If you don't own them, picking them up and playing them is good for your soul.
Yeah, I agree. Well, let's answer a couple of quick questions here. These are ones we ask just about on every review that we do. If you were to pick out who this particular guitar would be for, not besides you, obviously it's picked out for JP, but if there's a guitar buyer out there that you see, what type of buyer would you say would be looking for this type of guitar?
Well, that's one of the great things about this particular guitar is that it's for anyone. Now, you wouldn't want to. The only thing that I would caution against is perhaps playing it in a bluegrass band with over a microphone. It'll do it.
Yeah.
But you're not going to have the same power as a dreadnought. But if you want a guitar for flat picking, either bluegrass or Celtic or jazz or any of those things that requires a great deal of projection and tone, this is your guitar.
Yeah.
Now, whether you could lead a hard, strong rhythm in a five-piece bluegrass band is debatable.
Yeah.
But this thing, if you're a flat picker, and then obviously the next thing is for fingerstyle.
Yeah.
If you're a fingerstyle player and you're accomplished even a tiny bit, this guitar would bring your playing up about 8 levels because it's so sensitive and immediate that it just makes playing so much more easy because the guitar responds instantly to whatever you're doing, right? And that's the way most of his guitars are. So
I agree with that, and I will add to that. I find like if I was going to go the ideal, person, like you said, a versatile type of player that plays a lot of things, this is really going to pay off for you because it is comfortable. You can give it all you got, and it'll come back to you, like what you just said. But you can also be very delicate with it. Yeah. It's a comfortable sitting and playing all styles. Like I said, I don't know. I agree with you that it's not necessarily the band, compete with everything. But if you're wanting to play everything with nothing holding you back, that's what this guitar is capable of doing.
Yeah, it's pretty well good for anything.
Yep.
And I said what I said about being in bluegrass bands, but I've played played this guitar in a bluegrass band, and I was heard over the banjo.
I can absolutely see it.
They're loud enough.
Yep.
They can do it.
Tone properties of this. How would you describe this? I know for me, I find it to be very punchy, very lively.
They are.
Still has a lot of depth. It's maybe not as big as the big bodies, but it's balanced with an extended low end.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where
Really
I would kind of put that. So.
I'll play you something.
Good. I'd love to hear it.
I'm going to do this one because it's Robin's favorite, and every time he gets me to try a new guitar, I play this and he cries. This is his favorite tune. And it'll give you an idea what this guitar is like. It's because it has an unbelievable amount of power.
clean. Very, very cool. I like the punchiness, like you said, distinct character, but yet huge all at the same time.
It's just, and I'm hardly pushing it.
Yeah.
That's the great thing about it. It just has, and this is a brand new one. I mean, if you heard mine after, I don't know how long it's been, 5 or 6 years now, whew, it just gets better. And I even knocked a hole in the side of mine. I blew the whole side of the guitar at one
You're not
night.
supposed to do that. I don't know if you know that.
I was heartbroken. I was really sick and trying to get through a big crowd of people on this gig, and they ran me right into a table and knocked the big hole. But the Julian fixed it. You can't even tell it was there. So they're tough. Like this, it's a road guitar.
Good.
That's another thing I should mention is that I've been touring with Robin's Guitars now for 11 years. I have not had one thing fail on any of those guitars, and they have been in minus 40, 120 degrees, jungle humidity, no humidity, airplanes, buses, cars, boats. Only thing that ever happened to one Boucher was I played it so much, and I detune a lot during the show, I wore my G-string slot out, and the string fell on them, and I had to have a new nut cut because I wore the thing out.
I'll do it.
And that's it. That's
By the way, 120 is equal to like normal temperatures here in the States, Fahrenheit.
well, no, I'm talking Fahrenheit, 120 Fahrenheit.
I'm just giving you grief.
Yeah.
You guys and your weird Celsiuses. And
Well,
all that
you
kind of
guys will do anything to keep them using the metric system.
Because we are American, doggone it. We'll do it our own way.
How tall is that house, Jethro? Well, it's 14
feet.
monkeys high. You should have seen my car. It was the other day. I went in the water. The water was 47 Rubik's cubes deep.
Anyway, if you were to help
Metric,
folks,
zeros,
metric,
ones
whatever.
and zeros, man,
Just-
ones and
I
zeros.
hear you. Anyway, if you were to help somebody describe this in guitars that they may already have or have played before, giving them something to compare it to. I know it's different, it's its own character, but if you were to kind of describe something that kind of gives them a ballpark of where this kind of fits in.
You mean tonally?
Yeah. Well, let's do it. Let's do it in two sections. Let's do. What does it play like? Is there anything out there that you can feel like plays and responds in the same ish sort of format? Anything that else?
If I had to describe this, it would be. It plays with the ease of a gut string guitar, without the super wide neck, and it has the speed of a nylon string guitar. And that's bizarre.
Yeah.
But that's the profile. It has this really fast, thin, wide neck, even though it's 1 3/4. It actually feels wider than it is, and there's a ton of room and a ton of action. And it's butter all the way up to the body. Like there's no problem anywhere on this neck, and that's the number one thing that people need to take away from most everything that Robin builds. If he sets it up for Studio Goose action, the action is going to be ridiculously good, right? And the bluegrass guitars are a little higher because they want higher, right?
Sure.
But this thing is designed with my action, exact measurements, and they nail it. So if you've ever played a good gut string guitar, how easy and beautiful it was in room, imagine that with steel strings with the same action and not quite so wide. But not an 11/16. So if you're used to a narrow neck, this guitar is not for you. But more and more people are switching over to the 3/4 inch width anyway, right?
Has become our most prominent.
Yeah. So that's sort of if you want to, that's the big takeaway from. And as for sound, you're talking about something a pretty good dreadnought sound out of it. It doesn't sound like a small body guitar.
No, not at all.
Doesn't sound like an OM. Doesn't sound like a triple O or parlor. It just sounds big and meaty and warm and fat. So like a really nicely controlled dreadnought. Not a big boomy one, but one that maybe is older.
Sure.
It's hard to describe those things, but when you're trying to compare them to other guitars. But I think every guitar sort of stands on its own, right? So it's hard to compare them that way.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, that'll help some folks out there kind of get an idea of what they're listening for, and kind of help to kind of shape it if they're looking for that type of an instrument that obviously performs bigger than what it actually is.
Exactly. It punches way above its weight, as Dave Gunning says.
There you go.
Yeah.
That'd be a good one to kind of check out. So it is I'm glad to have you in here. If you guys want to check out some more Boucher guitars, we're gonna have a video clip right in here. You can check it out. It'll be. I know it'll be. I may be on this one. This is another prototype coming out, and that would be awesome. If that's available, they'll tell you that right here. And yeah, this is going to be pretty cool. So again, JP, thank you for joining me here today, talking about the Boucher signature model from JP Cormier. And guys, stick around. We're going to have more videos coming at you, so make sure to check out the channel, and we'll see you next time.
Chapman's rule.